Mary Grace Baker. She was a camper at Camp Mystic. She had just finished the second grade at St. Anne Catholic School. In a statement, her school says that they are heartbroken and that her giggle was contagious, as was her spirit. She loved art, dance, her school, and playing at West End Little League. She was a girl's girl who loved pink, sparkles, and bows in her signature angelic ringlet curls.
Thank you, Chief. Yesterday, I met with families at Camp Mystic. I made a commitment to them. The day before, I met with residents of Kerrville. Today, I met with residents of Hunt. I made a promise to all of them. Texas will not stop until we finish the job. We will not stop until we identify, recover every single body. We'll not stop until every road is rebuilt, every inch of debris is removed. We'll not stop because we are a state that cares about our people, cares about our communities, and we'll be with them every step of the way. We'll take a few questions.
Governor, Monday happened.
So obviously the local officials who were on the ground at the time would know the most about that. But let's talk about it in this way. That's going to be one of the issues that we begin to address in less than 2 weeks in the state legislature. We're going to address every aspect of this storm to make sure that we're going to have in place the systems that are needed to prevent deadly flooding events like this in the future.
Governor, when Monday happened, Governor, you led an investigation. Are you going to ask for an investigation in this case?
So we said when Harvey happened?
No, Uvalde.
Oh,
Uvalde happened?
Yeah.
And it was gross negligence back then. Now this happened, and the death toll is enormous. Are you going to ask for an investigation? Who is to blame here?
Right. So I'm going to talk about two different things. The first part of your question, and that is an investigation. We know a special session's coming in about 10 days. That's where, I would say where it begins. Candidly, those investigations will begin by both the House and Senate before we go into session. So probably beginning later this week or the early part of next week, there'll be committees formed that are already kind of working on ideas about ways to address this. Second part of your question needs to be addressed. You ask, and I'm going to use your words, who's to blame? Know this. That's the word choice of losers. Let me explain one thing about Texas, and that is Texas, every square inch of our state cares about football. You could be in Hunt, Texas, Huntsville, Texas, Houston, Texas, any size community, they care about football. High school, Friday night lights, college football, or pro. And know this, every football team makes mistakes. The losing teams are the ones that try to point out who's to blame. The championship teams are the ones that say, don't worry about it, man, we got this. We're going to make sure that we go score again, that we're going to win this game. The way winners talk is not to point fingers. They talk about solutions. What Texas is all about is solutions. In fact, I want to read you something that I received last night that's worth emphasizing to put this in context. Tragedy has come. That part is done. What we do now, who we are now, that's what the story is still being written. Let it be one of grace, of grit, of fierce love in the face of grief. Let it be the kind of story that proves that the hill country may flood, but it does not fail. Say what you will about Texas, but when the rivers rise, so do we. Not with blame, not with bitterness, but with boots on the ground, arms around strangers, and hearts wide open. That's the Texas I know, and that's the America that I believe in. What this person wrote is what I know is true for all Texans and what we will achieve every single day.
Governor Burrows, what kind of legislation do you hope to see come from this special session?
You know, part of the legislative process is policy is not made in a vacuum. We have ideas. I've served on 2 investigatory committees out of the House before I was Speaker, both Uvalde and Panhandle wildfires. There are things that we can talk about, but it is too early to commit to know the specifics until we actually talk to the members of the community and hear what they think. Talk to the experts in the field. Talk to the first responders. That's what legislative hearings are for. We are ready to get started. The legislators I talk to, the members of the House, and I know the Senate, are very interested in finding solutions to not accept that we can't do better. But we will have those hearings. We will synthesize what we get, and we will come up with legislation that I believe will make it to the governor's desk and make us a stronger, better, more resilient Texas.
Governor, what do you say to these families that say these solutions may be a little too late?
Well, so one thing that we're focused on is making sure that we deliver the right solutions. One thing the Speaker just said is worth emphasizing, and that is that for us to provide real solutions, we actually need to hear from the people who are the ones most affected. The ones most affected, they're dealing with the grievance of having lost a child or lost a business or otherwise have their lives turned upside down. They don't have the capability right now of providing that information. We'll talk to local leaders, importantly, not just here, but across the state. And we want to make sure that we address what happened here, but at the same time, we want to make sure that we are able to implement measures that are going to be able to prevent loss in other regions going forward. So we have our work cut out for us, but I know the members of the House and members of the Senate, I know we'll work and get some meaningful things done. So again, my focus isn't on trying to say, oh, you did wrong or you should have done better there. My job is to bring Texas and Texans together and make sure that we immediately start delivering on solutions. You talk about the heroic effort, and no one has seen the level of response as what Texas has provided over the past 4 days or so. And we continue to maintain that response here while also going to the state capitol and working on around-the-clock responses there to make sure that we do deliver real solutions for these people sitting right behind you. Sure. So what your question is about what local officials knew, you'd have to ask them. Now, what the state was aware of, the state was aware that there was a possible serious flooding event days in advance, and we pre-positioned assets and resources and personnel. And remember, the flood began on Friday morning. We originally positioned those assets, resources, and personnel on Wednesday. Then when greater clarity was discerned on Thursday, we moved them closer, added, and made sure that we had adequate supply going into Friday. So we were ready with the resources on the ground to be able to quickly respond. Some people say, well, we responded so fast. One reason we did respond fast is because we had assets here already. That said, we didn't know the magnitude of the storm. We knew that there was a flash flood warning. And if you heard a flash flood warning, no one would know that that would be a 30-foot high tsunami wall of water, I don't think. But all I can tell you is the information we had, the state had, and that we acted on, was information that catalyzed us to begin putting assets and resources in place 2 days before the event happened. Yep.
that was gone in the vineyard. Within 10 minutes, we had 20 people and 8 kids. It was going crazy. That whole vineyard, over 100 acres, was taken care of for free. Okay, God bless all the people that showed up. We had people who are not certified probably condone and squeeze about 90% of the recovery activity. We are so grateful for everyone that has been here. But we were strong, we came together.
Thanks for asking.
All of a sudden, we got infiltrated with this, we got infiltrated.
Thank you, guys.
Yesterday I was driving after about 7 hours of making a post for resources for everyone around me, for my family, and I was passionately driving. And some Navy SEALs were walking out with the orders. We asked for a ride out to Mystic. I took them. I asked what they were doing. They said, we went down there. They pretty much cleared this property that they were so well on. They worked several days. They completely wiped it out. They were so efficient. If I could say so myself, I know they recovered. They helped those families that now have answers to questions out there. They said, ma'am, we're done. Where do you want it? I said, I got you thing. We started out towards Clemente. About 5 trucks of us were coming up to La Habana. We got word that there was snow. We stopped, we surveyed this untouched land, completely untouched land. 10 feet from the road. We said, this is where we're going to be. They went back, they slept the night. I went out, I went to La Habana, didn't find anything where it cost us. Early to the night before because we found about 3 people that day. So I took some volunteers and went out for 2.5 hours last night. We cleared the land completely. We made it to where people could show up. At 8 a.m. today, Navy SEAL, game warded, myself, 28 years old, who just has a passion for my city and helping us recover, went there. 150 people with us. We told them, I'm supporting Cal News, but say you're with the Hunt Volunteer Fire Department, they will let you through. We got authorized to have, we already had an excavator out there, a 36 excavator. We already had about 15 skids. We had one single excavator that was small. We were ready to go. We were working hard. We had a plan. I had 1/4 of a mile of machinery that I was authorized. We were Hunt Police, Hunt Fire, Ingram Police, Ingram Fire, escort, front and back, half a mile, all the way to City West Church, to this area between Casa Bonita, Camp Mystic. We have this crew coming across the road from us. We're overlooking it. It's a 60-foot drop, y'all. It's completely flat. The debris is at maybe like a 60-degree angle. It's you can walk it. But it's hollow and it's ready to be gone through. And we had it ready. We were working on it properly. They show up. This crew out of nowhere. Bigger excavators, triple the name. I'm not going to say what they said. They said to a very well-known Navy SEAL, get the F off us. I know nothing. I don't know politics. I don't have access to what's going on. I've been working 15-hour shifts. I was up until 6 in the morning the other day, sitting people that were coming to Walmart saying, hey, I'm official personnel certified search and rescue. They sent us to Highway 39. I'm assuming there's a shelter out there for us that we can go to. We're all bunkered down. We'll get assigned. And I said, who's your point of contact? I said, I was sent out here. It is my point of contact. They said, well, we can go to fire at 6 in the morning. I'm going to go. I helped him try to get out of the way here. But long story short, show up. They tell us to leave. They say, hey, we're going to work the water, y'all work up. Start working that hill. 30 minutes later, hey, no, y'all are going to work half that hill. Okay? Yes, sir. 5 minutes later, get the F off this hill. We had, at that time, probably 200 volunteers, certified Navy SEAL, blue veterans. We said, where are we going? We had all that equipment. It was sitting there. Where are we going?
We get a microphone.
Get out here. All of you. I sat there for an hour and a half with these people looking up to me saying, what do we do? What is this?
All right, we're going to cut away. The governor there taking a question from a member of the community we can't fully understand here. We're going to continue to monitor the governor's press conference. But welcome to The Lead. I'm Jake Tapper. We start this news with breaking news and devastating, shocking news in the aftermath from the catastrophic July 4th flooding in central Texas. Just moments ago, the governor of Texas, Republican Greg Abbott, said there are at least 161 people known to be missing in Kerr County alone. We previously had been told that the number was closer to 20 for Texas as a whole, but now we're being told 161 missing. The governor vowed that each person missing will be found.
We will not stop until every missing person is accounted for. Know this also. There very likely could be more added to that list.
This shocking news that the toll of those missing is much higher than previously thought, at least 8 times higher, comes as the death toll of those confirmed lost in the flood also continues to grow. At least 109 people, 30 of them children, have been confirmed dead. We are learning more about the victims. Some of them include Anna Margaret Bellows. She was only 8 years old. She's among the victims from Camp Mystic. Another 8-year-old Mystic camper, Lenny McCown, the Austin American-Statesman, published a statement from their father saying his daughter, quote, filled our hearts with so much joy we cannot begin to explain. 8-year-old Mystic campers Hannah and Rebecca Lawrence are also on this grim list. Their parents say they were twins who, quote, shared a bond only twins could understand. Also lost Odessa police officer Bailey Martin. Odessa Police Department saying that Martin was on a trip with his family to the Guadalupe River near Kerrville, Texas, for the 4th of July holiday week. And these families, along with so many others, are going through unimaginable pain and grief. Meanwhile, some officials in Texas are facing some serious questions about preparedness and whether they acted on any flood prevention measures in this region referred to in Texas as Flash Flood Alley, in this area where flash flood killed 10 campers in 1987. Today, the Lieutenant Governor of Texas, Dan Patrick, says flood warning sirens could well have saved lives.
But the city can't afford it, then the state will step up, and we need to have these in place by the next summer. We've had flash floods before, nothing like this, but had they heard those sirens screaming out loud, maybe that would have made them get out of their trailers or their tents and climb to safety.
We will dive into why such sirens were not installed in hard-hit Kerr County, where as of now nearly 90 people have been confirmed dead. Despite sensible, logical questions about what could have been done better and where blame may lie for this tragedy being as bad as it has been, the Texas governor just minutes ago suggested that asking who's to blame is, quote, the language of losers. And the governor compared this to a football game and a football quarterback who promises to do better next time instead of pointing the finger of blame. I assure our viewers that we do not think that questioning officials in the Texas government about warnings that were unheeded and advice from experts that was not taken, we do not think that's the language of losers. We think it is the duty of accountability and a responsibility of all of us after such a horrific tragedy. Let's go straight to CNN's Isabel Rosales in Kerrville, Texas. And Isabel, we just heard from Governor Abbott that there are now 161 known people to be missing just in Kerr County.
Right, Jake. I am in Center Point, which is in Kerr County, and by far this has been the most devastated county through this flash flood incident. I mean, you're talking about over 80 people that have died here in Kerr County alone. So this figure has been incredibly important. This is a figure, the number of missing that reporters, community members have been asking for since this occurred on July the 4th, every single press conference, to try to get an understanding of what volunteers like this and first responders are looking for. How many people are they out scouring the Guadalupe River to try to find. So far, we've only had really an understanding of Camp Mystic, the counselors and the campers there, that number, and now we're seeing it jump from over 20 to 161 known to be missing here in Kerr County. So this is an important figure to try to for us and the community to try to get an understanding of how many people still are out there that need to be answers need to be given to their loved ones. And of course, we heard the question from a reporter there asking the governor, who is to blame here for this loss of life and the lack of warning in the Texas floods? And as you mentioned, he says, you know, this is the talk of losers. We don't do that in Texas. Giving an analogy of football here, that the winning team focuses on solutions and not on a blame game. Jake.
Isabel, we'll touch on that in a second, but CNN has some brand new reporting involving Camp Mystic, the site of so much loss. Tell us more.
Right. So CNN just obtained new records that show that 2 days before these deadly floods, a state inspector was actually on site at Camp Mystic and certified that the camp had an emergency plan in place, a plan that was posted there at Camp Mystic for counselors and campers to take a look at. He also certified that all the cabins and all the buildings were safe. This would have included the Bubble Inn, where most of those youngest of campers were staying. That building that was devastated, we saw images of the walls just being busted through. It was very, very close to the river there. On July 2nd, that inspector of the Texas Department of State and Health Services also confirmed that Camp Mystic had a state-mandated plan for, quote, emergency shelter and for evacuation in case of an emergency. So in light of this report, in light of all of this, it's raising questions on whether that disaster plan was adequate and whether it was followed in this moment of an emergency through all of this flooding. Now, we did reach out to the state health department. A spokesperson told us that they do not maintain copies of these emergency plans, but every single time that they do an annual inspection, they go on site and they review that, and that the plan, Jake, would include what to do in the case of flooding. Now, we did reach out to Camp Mystic. They didn't respond to CNN's phone calls or emails about this report. But we do want to note that counselors did, in those moments, according to witness accounts, go and help those campers get to higher ground. But as we saw, the waters rose so quickly that for many of them, there simply wasn't enough time to get out of danger. We also, CNN spoke to a camp counselor there at Camp Mystic, who says that there was a power outage at 4 in the morning. So that would have meant that the PA system announcing an emergency wouldn't have been operational. She also told CNN that per policy, phones were not allowed for camp counselors or the campers there. So that would have meant that they wouldn't have received those emergency alerts from the National Weather Service either, indicating a total lack of communication, a lack of a blackout. It's not clear here if that emergency plan for Camp Mystic would have included what to do in the case of not having communication, Jake.